Good evening, guys. We are live and away to have a wee blether with Andrew from the Little Brown Dog Distillery. Thanks very much for joining us. We're just going to wait for a couple more people to come on and see what we're up to. Tonight's going to be quite a. It's the first, or kind of technically the second, but the first one was just me and Russell having a wee blether about the shop. This is where it starts to get interesting. We're going to bring on some guests every Thursday from the world of whiskey and gin. And tonight we've got a guest who is dabbling in both and a little bit more as well. So hopefully we'll have a wee, or I don't know, hopefully about it. I will be trying some of the drinks tonight. So Russell, have you had the chance to try?
I haven't. I'm just waiting to open it just now. The Alpha Strong.
Yeah. So we are getting an exclusive view
Absolutely.
of Russell.
I've literally just taken the seal off the top of the bottle, so I'm very, very, very excited about this. Yeah.
It's gone great guns in the shop. But so let's just bring Andrew in. He's no doubt the person you're all here to see. So let's add him on. Andrew, hello. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Awesome.
From the field.
From the field. That looks wonderful out there.
Yeah.
It's not a virtual background. It was just too nice a night to sit inside the house, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
I think it was just the three of us talking away to ourselves because everybody outside the garden sunning themselves.
I'll be honest. We just got these new seats in, and I thought these look great to do a wee comfortable podcast from. So that's the only reason I'm sitting inside, is to get comfy in the new seats. We should be at the back. My back garden doesn't get very much sun though. Got a couple of guys coming in. Vic Cameron. Hello, Vic. How are you? Hope you're well. And I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. But hello from India. Great to see you. So have you got links in India, Andrew? Have you got people? Are you sending general?
We're not at the moment, no. But we can barely send it out of Scotland at the moment. That's the problem. But
yeah. Tamara, I think Tamara was in last week as well. So good to see you, Tamara. So yeah. And this really is. It's just a wee chat with you, Andrew. You've had a hell of a year. Sanjoy Prasad. My God, Andrew Smith is handsome. Look at that hair.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll be selling it later on with the meeting.
Yeah, just you've had a hell of a year, Andrew. It's not even been a year since the first gin was released, is it? Was it July? June?
No. We're kind of trying to remember when exactly what it was. We don't want to miss the anniversary, but it was about June time, end of May, beginning of June, that we launched the first major gin. We'd done the projects before that point. Which were much smaller batch, whereas the unlimited edition, the first of our core range, that's just coming up to about a year now. So we had a bit of a slow go with 2020 because it wasn't the easiest year for anybody. But certainly we've come out flying towards the end of that year, and we're just trying to keep the momentum going behind us now.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people saying hello. Lots of familiar names: John Ferguson, Karen Burgess from Cullen. She's not quite as far away as India. Then we can manage Cullen, no problem. Margaret's in. Marcin, good evening, Marcin. Good to see you again. And Duncan, quite a regular for us. We sent up the wee mongrel up to Duncan just not too long ago.
Very good, thank you very much.
I think he's cracked it open, had a nose, or he said he had the neck pour, and is enjoying it. I think we have one bottle left in the shop. I'm loath to sell it. I want to keep it. I've got my own one here. I
might need to buy it back off you. I've got none left for myself.
that must be the worst. Knowing that you've created it or you've bought in this cask, selling it, and you're like, how much do I keep for myself?
I mean, we have to keep it canny because we hope to do this for a number of years yet, and we can't just have thousands and thousands of bottles lying around. And certainly we won't do very well if we keep it all for ourselves. The brandy, I pretty much had to pry off of Chris's hands. He was not letting go of that brandy. He loved it too much, but we had to sell it.
I had that, and then I instantly went and bought 2 bottles.
This is my bottle here. It's got a different coloured cap on it, because it's the dregs at the bottom of the barrel, and I didn't want to accidentally sell it to somebody with all the floaters that are in this one. So
I thought that was me.
That's my one.
So I don't know if Janice is in touch with you, but we had some customers phoning us up today looking for a very special liquid, but unfortunately, the pink gin, it's a no go.
I mean, I'm just nervous that somebody looks back on our Instagram and doesn't read the post in like 6 months' time and goes, "Oh my God, what is this?" You know, and it was definitely an April Fool, that one.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about our thoughts on distilling and that sort of thing, then it pretty much went. I had somebody come up to me and goes, "You said you would never." I'm like, "Come on, come on." Oh,
really? But it just fitted in so well with all your quirky videos and that you've been really. I mean, the one that you launched last week or this week with your brother was brilliant.
Folk are like, "Is he really your brother?" And I'm like, "I'm afraid he really is my brother." If you're watching, Ali, thank you very much for doing that, jumping in that cold river.
Yeah, but he
Hardy
said
boy.
He was your big brother, but he's actually your younger brother, is he?
He's my younger but much bigger brother. Yeah, I always say he's about a foot taller than me, but he just feels that he's not quite as big as that. But yeah, he's a hardy boy. Looks a bit like a Viking. I think he's quite pleased to be compared to a Viking. So
yeah,
he must have got more bros than you, Andrew.
Yeah. We used to kind of fight quite a lot when we were growing up, and then he got bigger than me. It's amazing the fighting just stopped overnight. So,
Russell, we were talking about that last week, wasn't it? We're talking about the Ben Nevis distillery.
Oh God, yes, yeah.
Russell, how good your description of Ben Nevis is brilliant.
My analogy of Ben Nevis, I don't know what your experience with Ben Nevis is, Andrew, but it's one of these whiskies that you've really got to be ready to fight, but you're not really wanting to fight, and it's a bit like that fight you have with your older brother. When it's just getting that little bit too far, you can't quite stop, but you're kind of really want to say no, I've had enough.
Russell, how are you drinking whiskey? I mean, seriously, I think you're just supposed to just sniff it and just gently sip it. You're not supposed to smash it into your face, like. Yeah.
That's Ben Nevis for you, though. It's one of these ones that's ready for a fight.
I think Karen's been on the sauce already. She's opened your gin early. She's
what a bunch of body loons.
It's not early. It's not early at all. It's absolutely. This is perfect gin drinking weather right now. So back on.
It completely is, and it's this time of year that I really start to enjoy the thought of drinking gin. You know, the smell of the coconut off the gorse and just the daffodils and all the bulbs coming through. It just really want to drink gin.
Yeah. I think from our perspective, it's this time of year when things start to come to life. So it's probably like our busiest season for foraging in the next few weeks. We were going to try and tap the trees this weekend, just past there, but it was looking a wee bit not quite ready for that yet. So I think we'll try again this weekend. I can see the beginnings of some buds appearing in some of the trees, which means the sap will be rising. So we'll get the birch trees tapped. And then very quickly after that, it'll be looking to get the beech leaves as they start to emerge as well, because it's a really short window of opportunity for us to gather these ingredients. And then after kind of filtering and bottling, it goes in the freezer for the sap, and the beech leaves as well, they end up getting bagged in the freezer. Just keep everything fresh for the year's production ahead. So, and any spare sap we've got, we can use to make birch syrup. Quite handy for cocktails and cooking and various other bits and bobs. So
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I suppose we've got to pour a gin then. We're talking gin. It's great gin weather.
Yeah, crack on.
Yeah, so I've just poured. Russell, have you got this in your glass now?
I have indeed, yeah. I've had a little sip.
So I love it that you've put Alpha Strong in there. We'll have people from all over the world who Alpha.
I know they must think it's a misspelling. It was Graham Cool and I, who's now Dingle Distillery. We're having a kind of chat on Twitter the other day, mostly in Doric, and I think folk just thought we were drunk. I mean, I'm a total incomer as well. I'm not a native to these parts, so I never mean to cause event. I've just adopted it as my second language.
Well, you need to learn it for your kind of your real job, I suppose, as a vet.
Yeah.
You would need to learn a bit of the lingo.
I've been up here about 15 years now, and it did take me a good couple of months just to tune my ear in. It did. There was a few instances where I completely misunderstood what folk were saying, but I think as time's gone on, my accent's got a bit more chuchter, and my brother's has got a bit more bit more Falkak, eh?
I have to tell you this story. I'm going to throw Tony under the bus just now because she's in the next room. We were up with the dog. Was it last week? With Ian, you came out into the car park. So you and Tony had your wee yap, and we seen Lilo got her sorted. So for those who don't know, one of my dogs was pregnant, so we'll have them up to the vet just now. Anyway, Tony came back in and she says, "Oh, yeah, seen Andrew, and it's nice to see him working."
I'm always working.
I love that. I was going to say it on Monday, and I thought, no, I'll wait until there's more people.
Because when you come down to the shop with boxes of gin, you're not working at all. Like, yeah, that's absolutely right.
It's only weekends and evenings.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell him that. Yeah, it's nice to see him working. And you were saying about her face as soon as you said it was just like, oh my god, what have I just said? Because we all know that you're quite a hard worker. It doesn't seem to stop. How you put up with it with 2 kids as well, very young kids as well. So
I just had to shoo them away from the hammock because they were all desperate to come and play in the hammock. I'm like, no, back in the house. I've been crawling over here. Why is Gary sitting in a field?
Yeah. Craig's just popped up from Tyndrum and 2 a.m. So deliveries at 2 a.m. It's not just through the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mental. Yeah.
All part of the fun, isn't it? If you need a job done, ask a busy person. Huh?
Yeah. Was that the McMeera that you were out delivering till 2 o'clock in the morning?
Do you know? The last number of weeks are such a blur because obviously we kind of sit in ourselves, we hibernate for a few period of time, then we come out bang and we do 4 different bottles and one pretend one. So yeah, it all happens in one go, and then we'll probably crawl back into our little cave now and try and kind of rustle something up for the next release. But it just all happens at once sometimes. Chris is calving just now. He's sowing barley in the farm as well. So it's a busy time of year for him too.
Will any of that barley see a signal up for Europe?
Quite possibly is the honest answer. Much of the barley around about the farm where we distill is Golden Promise. I think I'm right in saying about a third of Golden Promise that goes to malting for whiskey comes from that area. So we would be mad not to utilise that ourselves at some point. But the honest answer is we're a wee bit away from that financially. We've got to keep working away at doing what we're doing, and I'll be very upset if at some point we don't manage to make some whiskey out of some of that barley. Definitely.
Yeah. Just rewind a little bit to this gin, the Alpha Strong. I said this in a couple of comments on the Facebook. I still cannot believe that this is 57.2%. I'm just in the glass, room temperature. It's just wow.
I think it's the high oil content. You know, it doesn't have that kind of solventy feel to it. It's a very silky drinking gin, and that was, that's been the concept all along. That was really what we wanted to try and create. You know, we enjoy drinking cask strength whiskies. We drink them neat, and part of that experience is how that liquid feels as you drink it, not just the smell and the taste, which is obviously very, very important, but to create that side palate and mouthfeel. And the kind of luxury with the high strength version of that is we've got even more oils in there without the dilution, so you get even more of that effect. And I think that helps hide some of the high ABV, and hopefully it helps it really survive more cocktails. It's the kind of thinking behind it isn't just to sit there and drink it neat, which of course you can do, but to try and get it into, because I always thought that LBD gin made a good cocktail. But Roddy, who works at Good Spirits, tells me that it was lost in a gimlet. He's started the Gimlet Appreciation Society. So, if nothing else, I really hope that this works in a Roddy gimlet, and then I'll be happy.
But you think for sure, I mean, a lemon based the cocktail, I think, just be absolutely astounding with this particular gin. I love there's almost a kind of saline mouthfeel with this Alpha Strong, which this is the first time I've tried it. I absolutely adore that. I love a seaside gin. So I mean, is that something that you kind of tried to get in there, or was that just part of the process?
it's not something that you've kind of caught me off guard there, Russell.
Sorry. Apologies.
Just to prove that this wasn't scripted.
Yeah. No, we've done absolutely no research for this chat whatsoever. It's not something I get a lot of in salinity, so it's interesting to get your perspective on it. And that's one of the beauties about these things is we all get something different from it. You know, I quite enjoyed the rum tasting that you hosted the other night, and it was interesting hearing some of the tasting notes that we're picking up. And it's always a good shared experience that. But for us, it was more about trying to and I'm trying not to. I'm really trying so hard not to get pretentious because Chris's toes will be curling if he's watching this. You know, going, dog, he's gone off on one again. You know, but it is about trying to capture the area around about us. You know, and we kind of semi-jokingly talk about petrichor as a descriptor of our gin, but really it's something we've tried quite hard to capture. That smell after the rain in the forest and the sun comes out. And I hope I'm right in saying that I felt we've captured that, and I think it's more evident in the higher strength because we just get more of that aroma. You know, for us, we always enjoyed our gin at higher strength. When we have got the 200 litre tanks nearly full and we're reducing the gin down, when you lift that tank lid and you just smell the aroma of the gin, you think, oh, that's great, you know. And it's about trying to give that experience to some of you guys as well by bottling at higher strength.
And I agree. I think it's a gin. I mean, sometimes for me, I've often struggled, even with some of the craft gins, I've really struggled to pick out notes within the gin. But with this one, you could. It's one of these ones like I really enjoy a nice sherry whiskey just sitting almost like 15, 20 minutes before you even think about taking a sip. And I could imagine doing that with this, just with some ice in the glass, just nosing it for a long, long time. Before you tried it. It just gives you that atmosphere as well. It's fantastic.
I think part of that creation is the way that we actually distill it. So we've got quite a long steep process, about 12-hour steep, but a lot of the fresh ingredients aren't in that steep, and they're just going into the basket that we made. So we've modified the stills so that the neck of the still has a botanical basket, and the fresh ingredients stick there. So rather than actually boiling in the liquid, the vapors are just passing through there, and we get really good extraction doing that. But I think we get that extraction without cooking the flavors. So we're trying to extract the oils and extract the flavors without just boiling them. And I think that's one of the things that sets it a wee bit different.
Yeah,
it certainly works. And we've got quite a lot to talk about, so I don't want to dwell too much on it.
Yeah. And you know me, the shy retiring type that you hardly get a word out of. So yeah, just
the final question, the thing on that, the lemon sherbets that I love. When we do a tasting with the LBD on it, I love saying it's like soaking lemon sherbets while sitting in a. I just love that story, and people love to hear it as well.
Stop using these tasting notes. We literally try to see how ridiculous we can go with the tasting notes and see if people repeat them.
But it is, for me, it's just like a lemon sherbet. You feel it fizz and bang in your mouth. It's just wonderful. Yeah. I love that.
It gives that kind of tingle, and more so, I think that kind of warm kind of fuzziness in the. Yeah,
I think it does describe it fairly. We do have a bit of a joke with these things, but I'm determined. One of these single casts, I'm going to put in some totally obscure tasting note, and it doesn't have any resemblance. And I'm going to see as an experiment how many folk have that implanted in their head when they're drinking and go, oh yeah, I'm really getting the notes of the caramel herring there. Yeah.
To be fair, I do also say it's like nice. It's like good gin but betterer. So that's not just.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Don't take everything we say very seriously.
We've known you long enough now. So Karen is pop slice of orange. Yeah. Feel the strength, but hasn't lost the flavour. Having it with a slice of orange. I had mine with a slice of lime when I had a wee sample of it earlier, and I honestly don't think it needs any garnish. I as a whiskey drinker, and relatively new to gin. I didn't start drinking gin until we opened the shop, just over 5 years ago. And getting into gin, what was tough. But now that I'm there, there's so many good stuff coming out.
It's fantastic.
I honestly think
it's still a really vibrant scene. There's like so many folk doing interesting things, and I still get like distiller's envy. I think the Galloway gin that they did at Christmas time with chanterelle mushrooms, and I was like, oh man, I want to make a gin with chanterelle mushrooms in it. It's brilliant.
And when you do it, you're copying. It's like,
I know exactly. Yeah, damn it.
if there was one botanical that was absolutely unique, what botanical would you most love to put in a gin?
I think it's always a fine balance between something that's unique and something that just becomes a gimmick, and I think I love the experimentation. I love the fact that basically, if it's edible and it's not going to poison somebody, you can put it in a gin. But you have to ask sometimes whether that's the right thing to do, or and sometimes it's harder not to put things into a gin than to decide to put it into a gin. And I think our weirdest botanical, if you want to put it that way, is our parsnip. And folk call parsnips, but I think we deliberately didn't put it on the label because we didn't want folk to have that at the forefront of their mind when they're drinking the gin. But really, it's not there to taste the parsnips. It's there to add a kind of the herbal notes. It's there to boost a wee bit of the spice, and actually makes quite a difference to the mouthfeel as well. So that's why it's in the gin.
I think another one like that almost is licorice. When you mention it, and licorice is in a lot of gins, albeit a very small amount. When you mention it as licorice, it turns a lot of people off it because they don't like it. It's like you're not really going to taste it. It just, it's just there to add a little bit of sweetness, take a little bit of the dryness off. But
we had a conversation about the beech leaves, Andrew, and when I was a kid, I grew up in the Highlands in the middle of nowhere. There was no sweetie shops. So when I went out, typical kid brought up in the countryside. I just put everything. You would try everything. God knows why I didn't get poisoned. But beech leaves were a particular favourite, and I would just chew them. I would suck all the flavour out of them, and then I wouldn't actually swallow them. I would just get rid of the debris afterwards. And I
one of the few people. You're probably one of the few people that I've spoken to that's actually tasted what a juvenile beech leaf is like, and so you'll get the kind of lemoniness, and you've really got to get them in that like 1 week window where they're papery thin and they're bright green, because if once you get past that point, the tannins start to build in the leaf and becomes bitter. So it's interesting knowing that you've tasted them at least. That's quite cool. But I would recommend going grazing on the. I've got my tiny violin out here. I'm afraid.
We had the first show that we had as a shop was the Scottish Home Show in Aberdeen, and it's another Aberdeenshire gin Esker, which has got the silver birch tree sap in it, and we were kind of Claire, who was with us, was pouring the gins and doing the samples, and this lady was kind of tasting the sample, and Claire was doing the spiel, this tree sap in the gin, and the lady tasted it, and she stopped and she looked and she said, "Is that silver birch tree sap?" And we were like, the stall just stopped. We were like, "How can you pinpoint a tree from this one taste?" She goes, "Oh no, I'm allergic to silver birch tree sap." It just put the glass down and left, and we were like, "Oh my god, what have we done?" He was talking about poisoning people with that. After, how do you know that you're allergic to that particular tree sap?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of the reasons why we publish everything that we put into it. There's, because it maybe have something pretty unusual in terms of an allergen. I'm just regretting suddenly now the sun's gone down and it's going to get cold, isn't it? This was a terrible idea.
We're almost halfway there, don't we?
Go on, hurry up.
It's a wee mongrel down here.
If this lady is,
that was good warm up,
because we haven't heard from her since that day. So give us a shout, mate. All right. I was
just noticing Duncan's question, Mike. But I kind of, before that one comes in terms of the future, a question I wanted to ask tonight was why did you start up? What was the driving force behind getting behind doing spirits and gin?
I mean, I've been if I get into something, I really get into it. So I become semi-obsessive, and the people that you then meet and in that journey are the same kind of people that are obsessive, and they want to know more and they want to find out more. And so for me, Little Brown Dog started as I'm trying so hard not to sound like a pretentious idiot here, but here we go. it was
Say it as it is.
about that kind of learning journey, right? And I did the reading to degree level and various bits and bobs, but then I wanted to ask questions about what if this happens, and how could we do this, and try to do things differently that way around. So a lot of the work I did early on was just from my own interest, but I shared that experience with people online. So we were making our own casks. We would build the Franken casks with, 13 wood types or 5 sherry types or whatever we wanted to do. We tried to peat unpeated whiskies, did experiments with peat from different regions of Scotland and tried to understand peat not just as a single flavour descriptor, but what composes it and what would make it different depending on the region and so on. So that was the whole point of it. That, and in that process, I always knew that I wanted to be bottling whiskies. I enjoy the process of cask selection. And so that was always going to be the plan. But the distilling thing kind of came out the side of all that, because the next process in that evolution, of understanding and experimentation comes from distilling. And for us, the easiest way to enter into that process was to use grain neutral spirit and to get a rectifier's license. And the sums start to get bigger and bigger in that process. So it makes sense to form a business, and it's easier to get the licenses and so on to do that in that process. And it was all part of that journey and meeting different people and having the conversations, because I was a pretty cynical kind of chap when it came to rectifying of GNS and these sorts of things. And you've heard what I've said about it sometimes in the past, but it really became this like opportunity to experiment. I love Scotch whisky, and I love the fact that we have this quite well-defined category, and I think that protects the quality of Scotch whisky. And it's something I've said a few times before. But I also love the fact that with Scottish gin, there's this blank canvas, and the kind of room to explore is much, much wider. And there's many things that we can do with rectified spirits that we just wouldn't be allowed to do with whisky. And so I'm enjoying that. And there'll be times we're going to end up pushing against what we're allowed to do potentially with the whisky, or have to call it other things, because there's a few ideas that we've got. But it's going to be about, it's always about being about sharing that journey and that having a bit of fun while we're doing it. So very much that's what the whole company, the brand, what we bring to it is always been about. We're just doing this for our own enjoyment, and you guys can come along for the ride if you want to.
More than happy. I think that answers Duncan's question. He was kind of asking about where do you see LBD go in the future, or do you want to keep it small scale? I mean, I guess he's wondering if you're looking for it to expand, or.
I think it's very much an organic process. We have a business plan in place, but the reality is that things happen when they happen. And we're just working away at trying to kind of build our base and do things well. The priority for us is not to grow the business and become a huge big business. The priority for us is to keep doing what we're doing and continue to do it well or do it better.
So we won't be seeing a distillery built into the hillside behind you anytime soon.
Well, no, because we can't afford to do it.
I think you're not going to announce that on the 1st of April next year, Andrew.
If we ever do it, we will announce it on the 1st of April. So I do think it's an April Fool. But if anyone's got spare 5 mil, I reckon we could probably knock something together quite well. I mean, the first distillery, the wee 10-litre still and all these things, like the licenses, the registration of the company, the bottles, the whole lot. We got Project AFG on the shelves of shops for about £2,500. And we wanted to prove to people that you didn't have to crowdfund tens of thousands of pounds. You didn't have to borrow millions of pounds or anything like that at all to do this, or pay somebody else to make it for you on a small scale. We wanted to prove that it could be done to get you started off.
Yeah. You're making us jealous now. All you need, so guys, anyone out there, you only need $2,500 to make your own gin.
Yeah. And then very, very quickly, it gets a lot more expensive.
I didn't want to hear that. I'm moving house to. I've got a huge shed out the back that's just perfect for a gin still. So I like the 2,500 bit, but I didn't like the fact that it then increases.
Oh yeah, I mean, we couldn't have done it without the community of distillers around about us, because the honest answer is we couldn't afford to buy 200 litres of GNS or 1,000 litres of GNS and pay the duty on that. When we're buying 200 litres of GNS, when you pay for it with the duty up front, it's about nearly £8,000 for that. There's no way we could have done that to start off with. And it was the guys at Blackford Distillery, so thank you very much to you guys, who were selling it just like litres at a time of the stuff, very small amounts. And they must have thought we were absolutely blooming mental. And they probably still do think we're mental, to be fair. But it was their help that let us to do it on such a small scale. So thanks to those guys.
Yeah, awesome. Hattie's just put on a little bit more than £2.5 because you also have a very understanding wife.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still think we should be maybe told it was about £400, so I've probably just thrown that one over.
So kind of moving on from gin, we then seen you develop a wee whiskey. I mean, whiskey's kind of been in your life forever. Well, way back in your work in hotels and being a barman, winning your cocktail. Was it Talisker you won?
Well, Talisker one was good fun, but unfortunately couldn't. I did get into the next stages, but couldn't go because there was a bereavement, so we couldn't get to go any further. But it's always been there, the kind of the cocktails and the kind of just the kind of passion for understanding about alcohol and so on as well. So yeah.
And Aaron was your kind of was it your first love in whiskey?
Yeah, I think when I realised that this was becoming a bit more than just an interest and was becoming a bit of an obsession, I kind of wanted to be able to collect something as well at that point. And I think for me, Arran as an island has always been an important part for our family. And it was the reason why the first single cask as a Little Brown Dog available to everybody had to be in Arran. Many of the projects up to that point were Arran based because we used to share those out at the Arran Whisky Festival. So it's an important part of my history, my family's history, and the brand's history. But certainly, I was kind of it's kind of a chap called Sandy Reid, who's a good friend and taught me an awful lot about whiskey, and has much much blame to take for the way that this has all gone. But he had just when you think somebody's got a lot of bottles of whiskey and you meet somebody like Sandy, you just go, oh my gosh, it was incredible. So yeah, I decided at that point I had a good relationship with the distillery, the people that were there. I wanted to keep a bit of that history for myself. So drinking, collecting, not just ornaments, but I would still call myself an Arran collector. Yeah, definitely.
That's what I've got left from 2 bottles.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like keeping it because it's something that we want to do is have a range of all your spirits. So I'm not going to pour myself a dram with this one tonight. But
well, if we can just make an announcement right now and say we have no more bottles of that at all. Not one hidden away, dusty anywhere. Because every week we're like, "Oh, have you got any bottles of Arran just tucked away?" And we're like, "Mate, if I had, I would be drinking it myself."
I fell on my sword with the Arran, which I guess I don't regret from a business point of view, but from a personal point of view, it's the stupidest thing I ever did.
Well, whoever got Russell's Arran, you need to pour him a dram because that was a very kind thing that you did to give that bottle away. Yeah.
What dram I am going to pour? I think it was your second whiskey. Was the McMyra.
That's what I've got in my glass just now as well.
I just cannot believe how fruity this is. It's just mango. And it's big this through a straw.
I mean, yeah, we had a really good time working with McMyra to pick this cask.
Yeah. Mickey's right just now as well.
Is he top?
Yeah, Mickey joined in, yeah.
This wouldn't have happened without Mickey's help, and those guys have been fantastic. So huge thanks to McMyra. Mm-hmm. We got a number of samples to try, and this one for me just was head and shoulders. And actually, to be fair, it's a bit of fate because the cask samples that we'd requested, the cask, one of the casks we asked for, they actually already sold it. So this cask was sent to us as a replacement sample, and it was just the one. I've always felt when you're bottling single casks, of course it has to have a good nose, of course it has to taste good. That goes without saying. But there's a lot of good whiskies out there. We should be bottling casks with character. Yeah. And I felt this cask had character. And I'm always nervous of virgin oak. It can absolutely bludgeon a spirit. But I felt this one struck a good balance between cask influence, but also still allowed there to be some spirit influence in there as well. So I hope the folk that got one are enjoying it. And to say I think it was a recent thread, people talking about fruit bomb whiskies, and the Arran and the McMeera were both mentioned. So we also like a fruity dram ourselves.
It was.
You can almost chew this one. It's so fruity. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. If you have,
Mike's got Kiora. I've got Umbongo. It's kind of I just find myself singing the song as I drink it. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm just wondering for poor people like Charlie out there would have put up Hattie Smith's description. It's a stotter. I just wondered if he knows.
Well, going back to the Doric thing, the wonderful thing is I still struggle to use the barcode, the scanner in the shop. I keep on typing in when a customer buys a bottle of something. So I love the fact that the other day somebody bought a bottle of the Alpha Strong, and I just typed in Alpha, and up it came. I thought that was the best thing ever. Who else could type in Alpha and actually sell a product?
Yeah, I know, and I'm trying to keep this clean because it's before the watershed. But the reason that LBD Gin, the Unlimited Edition, is an Aberdeenshire foraged gin was because when we released Project AFG, Chris was too embarrassed to tell his mum what the AFG stood for. So we told her that it stood for Aberdeenshire Foraged Gin, which she thought was lovely. So we put that back on the labels as a kind of a wee joke. And then obviously the Alpha Strong AFG, so it's it just carries that on. We're sentimental types,
Yeah, it's not 8 o'clock, so we can't actually tell anyone what it really means. But the shout.
Pick your audience.
Well, the HFC at Christmas, Mike wondered what that was. I knew straight away what HFC meant.
Yes, have a fantastic Christmas.
Yes, that's right.
I've kept it. I mean, you can't open it,
It's for drinking.
Yeah. When we get to sit down in a bar sometime, we'll open it then.
I really look forward to that moment, to be honest with you. I think I've suddenly become I'm going to become one of your regulars, I think.
Hopefully.
Aye. Yeah. But no, you're going to drink that at some point.
Never get away from the story.
Yeah.
A lot of people coming through with the compliments for the McMeera. We do have, I think we've still got maybe 4 bottles left on the shelf.
Yeah, because we managed to get some more stock. Chris and I can't count to 6, so we thought we'd sold out. So we gave some more cases to Inverurie and some more to Aberdeen as well. So I don't know if they've got some left, but you guys have got 4 bottles. I think we've got some left, but not much. But it's a cracking wee dram. And I think it gets a harder time because it's not Scotch whiskey. We had a lot of folk that were expecting our next whiskey to be a Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
And I'm a Scotch whiskey guy, but I'm just so enthusiastic about the Scandinavian distilling scene, and I think a big part of that comes from my enjoyment of experimentation and so on, and that freedom of expression that they've got out there just affords them to do a few wee things that just wouldn't be allowed to do in Scotland. That said, the McMeera we've bottled is a conventionally produced, whiskey, but they do some things like with smoking with juniper as well as peat and things like that. So it's good fun, and I just maybe didn't realise that not everybody's as a massive fan of Scandinavian distilling scene as I am, but you really should be, and open up your horizons because there's some fantastic world whiskies out there, definitely.
Yeah, there certainly is. We do very well at the shop with the High Coast.
Yeah, stunning stuff. I still have to kind of stop myself calling it box, but yeah.
It was good when we used to be able to do give people a sample in the shop, because you would just kind of pull the High Coast out and pour and say, this is a PX, what do you think? And then people would say, yeah, that's where about in Speyside is that from? And you'd then be able to say it's
really East Speyside.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was amazing how you could actually say. I mean, Mike got me to taste the Berg and the Alv blind before he told me they were Swedish, because he knew I would probably be tainted by the prospect.
Yeah, it's not so much tainting. It's just that you bring preconceptions to any whiskey, when you drink it. So that's why it's good to enjoy these things blind sometimes and just purely focus on what it is that you think you're getting from it, rather than trying to interpret what you think it may be giving you. If that makes any sense.
Listen, I'm a proper fanboy, as you know, of LBD. I'm very much in there with the groupies, and I'm pretty sure most of the guys out there are too. I think we've fallen in love with the whole brand, with everything you do. The videos are fantastic. So an obvious question, and marketing genius, who was it that came up with the Little Brown Dog then?
I think it was me, but I don't want to take credit for that if it wasn't. I can't remember. We had a number of whiskies in we had casks off, and we got the iron done, and then we're like, well, we better pick the next casks, and we drew samples, and we've got some fantastic spirit there, but they weren't ready, So it was a kind of frantic scramble to find different things that we would be ready to release, and when we spoke to Mickey, and then the ideas started to come about Little Brown Hound and these things, and it just felt like we had some momentum behind the idea, and we kind of went with it, and I'm really glad we did. So, and we had the most amazing Swedish weather at the beginning of the year.
Yes, we absolutely did. The video's incredible. Yeah. Listen, guys, if people out there haven't seen it, I mean, go onto the LBD Facebook page or go onto the website stuff. Look at the videos; they're absolutely phenomenal, guys. You have to go and look.
It's a nonsense. It's a total self-indulgence, but we enjoy making them.
But it's lovable. It's really enjoyable. Yeah.
For the Piri Shen Brun for the cognac, I was upset that you didn't cycle round in the blue stripe in the bird.
Don't do stereotypes here. I was absolutely determined that at no point would we be dressed as Onion Johnnies. I thought it was just like, no, we're going to prove a point here, My father's side of the family were French, so there was no way we were going Onion Johnny with that one,
I thought it would have been outstanding. Just to see you in a berry, it would have been great.
I think but the reason for going Petit Chien Brown was because that certainly came before Little Brown Hound, but we can't call it what it is. So we wanted to try and give as many clues as to what the origins of that liquid were. So it's one of the lovely little quirks of labelling law that prevent us from saying exactly what it is. So, but hopefully you can make an educated guess.
Yeah, look at the colour on that. That is.
It was pretty crazy stuff. That I mean, we got the samples through, and it's like this is wild. We have to have this.
Yeah. We kind of, and as as lovers of whiskies, we all say don't fall for the colour, but.
I broke a total rule of my own as well, but not going on about the colour. But I mean, like we're bottling this, and we even videoed us bottling it because we're like, look at this, And so that out of that cask, and then into that cask, we've now got a liquid sitting, a teenage liquid sitting in that cask.
Yeah, which I'm very excited about.
So I'm keen to see what we get from that, because that was a beautifully spirit mature liquid, but it was just lacking a bit of punch and a bit of depth, and so I'm going to bludgeon it to death with black liquid. see what survives.
Before we move a little bit further forward, can I bring you back to Project GPS in a sense? Yeah. What was that about in terms of?
I mean, we just said like bitter, twisted people when we tell the real story behind this one. But I mean, it evolved. All the projects evolve from an idea, right, or a conversation, or a thought, or whatever, and there's a lot of murk that comes out of these things, and folk talk about forage ingredients or whatever. And there's a lot of folk doing some absolutely fantastic things, but it's sometimes very difficult to pick out who's doing what, because a lot of folk are saying things or whatever, So the kind of idea behind that was to kind of really, if you want provenance, we'll give you more provenance than you ever actually wanted. And we were so lucky to have many of the ingredients we've got growing, and we joke, but it's true that I think these things are fantastic, and Chris thinks they're fantastic too because they're free. So Project GPS was about using those flavors that were in our immediate vicinity, and trying to kind of give a kind of a fingerprint of where it is we are and distill that. And again, so a part of that process is geotagging where the ingredients are. So in GPS, it was coordinates and what 3 words. But the coordinates are too long to type, so now we just do what 3 words for the batches of gin. But again, we had wasn't our plan to then take that and then do gin, but it was an interesting process for us, because when we made AFG, we knew roughly what it was we wanted to create and pretty much how to get there. With GPS, we're completely led by what it was that we could find around about us, and we did dozens of trial distillations with single botanicals at different inclusion rates, and trying to work out how different botanicals behaved at different cutting points and at different concentrations and different steep times. And really, if Chris hadn't stepped in and said, "Stop, we need to make something now," I would probably still be distilling random stuff that I was finding on the farm. But yeah, I really enjoyed Project GPS as a project for us. It taught us a lot about what we had available to us, and we've used some of that, what we gained, to then make the LBD gin.
I mean, it's 45% ABV. I bought 2 at the time, and I've kept this one because I guess I don't want to keep it. I want to drink this. I drank the first one, and I absolutely loved it with everything I put into it. And I know when you talk about a lot of your spirits, it's about do what you want with it, try different things, experiment, and all that kind of stuff. So I did, and I just absolutely adored this. I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing to drink.
I think my favourite way to enjoy it is to use it like a schnapps almost. You know, keep it in the freezer and then have it as a wee palate cleanser between courses of a meal. I think it works out that way. And I love it in a dry sherry cocktail. You know, it goes really well, that kind of earthy herbaliness. You know. Will
these be kind of projects you'll revisit? Will we see?
We're never going to make another GPS. We don't want to do the same thing twice, purely for selfish reasons, because we've done it, we've learned that, we can move on. But we have, and I talked to you about this last year. This tells you how terrible we are at staying to schedules. But we have a recipe developed for Project G2G, which is like a condensation, the even more focused version of GPS. But I need a certain time of year to forage those botanicals in that area. So it'll be late summer probably when we distill that one finally, after talking about it for long enough. But that'll be Project Goes Together, and that is looking at a single juniper bush and what grows in the immediate vicinity of that juniper bush. Because once you start to look closer, the things that you find, the kind of the number of botanicals you've got in that immediate area is just, it's like so much fun. So and we're gonna smoke the grist bill with the peat that those botanicals are growing in. So there you go. That's the most comprehensive description of that project that we've not made yet. I've let out. So.
It sounds like the Holy Grail. I mean, it sounds like the most. I can just imagine that bush. It's like it's a biblical.
Well, we have to out-pretentious ourselves each time, and it's getting harder and harder, you know. So.
Is it the Little Brian when they've got the singing bush?
Yeah.
There's a new launch idea for you.
It's going to come a point. Chris is like, we're going to have to make a video for everything we do, and I'm like, oh, we just run out of ideas at one point. Folk will lose interest. We'll just forget about it at some point, you know.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
You commented on one of them, I can't remember if it was Instagram or whatever, but you did say, it's now getting an idea, but you've got an idea for a video, so you need to make a story.
Yeah. That was the joke for the pink gin today, you know. Yeah. I think so that was we were going to do that last year, but it didn't feel like the right thing to do. There was a lot of folk had a lot of things on their mind in April last year, so if we were a bit more relaxed, a bit more for laugh and more fun this time then. So hopefully folk found it amusing and don't try to order it.
It was very classily done. I thought it was brilliant. What a good video.
There's nothing we do is ever classy. That's a total lie.
So talking of classy, we've got Martin Reid, who most gin lovers in Aberdeenshire will know from the Gin Cooperative. What's your favourite locally foraged botanical? We kind of touched on this at the start. He also mentioned he also mentioned that he comes from the posh side of Benahee.
Is there a posh side of Benny?
Martin is a lot classier than us because he emailed me asking me what the tasting notes were for the new gin, and I got round to replying at some stupid o'clock in the morning when I was just like, type any old, I wonder how hard I can push this, and he did a fantastic job of translating my terrible notes into something that sounded absolutely beautiful. So thank you very much for that, Martin. I think just to not to kind of go over it too much again because we discussed it earlier on, but I think what's become an event for us now is the tapping the birch trees. I think that's a thing that we look forward to at the start of the year, and I think that's an enjoyable process for us, and it's such a versatile thing. We've mucked about with it. Because we're determined not to have a signature serve, we like to kind of muck about, and we've carbonated the birch syrup and made served longer drinks with that, and had just tried to really see how annoyingly we can get away with some of these things, But yes, that's probably my favourite.
And so kind of bring it. I just realised as normal we're a little bit late.
Well, he said it Blether, so I mean, really more of a haver than a Blether. But
Blethering all day. Mickey's disappointed that the unicorn harvest wasn't forthcoming this year, but I think the unicorn harvest was actually scuppered by puffin droppings.
Yeah, I'd come up with this elaborate story about puffins, and my wife just absolutely said, "There's no way you're typing that. There's no way. Folk, they'll never take anything you ever say seriously again. Do not write about the puffins of Vank Island. Do not do any of that." So I didn't. I was brave.
This is the name of your new rum that you're talking about, is it?
Yeah. Russell and I had an interesting chat about these sorts of things. So no.
You shouldn't do inside jokes on live streams. You might hear that story in a long time. The next one, I suppose, we should talk about the wee mongrel. How well has that go down for you?
I mean, that took us totally by surprise. Like, poof, she's gone. 850 bottles. Yeah. It was a big butt.
I like big butts.
Never get never every single time.
Yeah.
Mike said that before.
I was going to pour a dram of this, but Duncan, who's one of our customers, is asked if there's one left. If there's not, I'm going to have to give him this one. So I'm going to put it. We'll talk about it and how good it's pour myself.
Yeah.
I'll spoil myself.
Don't actually drink the whiskies. We just look at them.
This is the first time I've tried a mongrel. So and again, back to genius. The Little Brown Dog, the French Brown Dog, the Swedish Brown Dog, and now we've got a blend. So of course it's a mongrel. Yeah.
This was not my idea. I know very well this was not my idea for this name. It was my wife's idea, and that's just as soon as she said it, I thought that's brilliant. We have to call it.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Yeah, completely.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure given enough time, I would have come up with it myself. But
not in your life.
No. So Michelle gets credit for that one. Thank you very much, darling.
Well done, Michelle. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I'll raise a glass of Aaron to Michelle there.
That's
so smooth, Mike. We're kind of doing a kind of.
Well, Russell, you said a swear word there. You said a swear word. We don't say smooth. That's forbidden. We don't say smooth. We don't say Christmas cake. Okay, that's the rules, right?
Okay, right. So
it says it on the SWA guidelines as well.
I will now adhere to the rules. I apologise profusely. But Mike's done a recent blog on blends, and we're starting to have a conversation about it, just about the whole concept and I suppose the history behind the whole blending kind of situation and where that kind of came from. And I suppose historically there were issues where it was a good product, but primarily probably not. So blends have still got that kind of not a great name. I mean, we talk about our shop that sells primarily single malts or single cask whiskies. So to try and promote a blend to the average customer is quite difficult. But
I think you're. I know what you're saying there, and I get it. But Scottish whiskey was built on blended whiskey.
yeah,
You know?
totally.
And
yeah,
and we owe all these distilleries that are still in existence to blended whiskey.
yeah,
And for the it's hard to remember sometimes that folk like ourselves that are into single cask whiskies at cask strength, we're the minority. Very much when it comes to whiskey drinking. But there's such a world of blends now, and again, it comes from creativity and flexibility and these sorts of things. But there's some fantastic blended whiskies out there, and ours is just another one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm really chuffed with that one. I'm so glad to see folk enjoying it, and we try hard to be able to bottle things at a price that folk can enjoy it, and so I hope we're achieving that, and hope folk are happy with what we're trying to do. But it's I enjoy it, so I hope you guys are enjoying it, and just so pleased to see folk opening their bottles and sharing it, and the feedback in the wee mongrel in particular has been incredible. I think because it was a bigger bottling for us, many of the things that we bottled were 240 bottles or 300 bottles or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've been able to expand it out to more people, and hopefully more folk have found out about us as a result of it. But it's been wild. And thanks to the folk that have been shouting about us. Really appreciate that. It's been great fun.
When it launched, it was one bottle orders, one bottle or maybe a bottle of mongrel and McMira, and then in the last week when we got that kind of second load from you, it was 3 bottle orders, 2 bottle orders, 4 bottle orders. Somebody ordered a case. It's like, so obviously the word out in social media was like, this stuff is good if you can get your hands on it. Absolutely. And you can't say enough about how it's coming up on the screen here, sub 50 quid for a 20-year-old blend and all this. It's the quality of it is great. That's not what I was going to come and say. I can't remember what I was going to say actually. It was going on to the history of blends and stuff, and I think as a nation or as there are communities, there's pockets of nations who are single malt orientated, but in terms of a global thing, it's few far between. Probably the UK, Scotland in particular, Germany maybe, Sweden to a degree, in America. So whereas blends is probably the biggest consumed, you've got this kind of single malt. Well, let's call it what it is, snobbery about it, and
But I think that's changing.
But there's something about the conversation of how you actually blend. I mean, am I right in thinking this was actually blended before it went into the cask?
And again, I'm trying not to tie myself in knots and get into trouble here because I'm only allowed to say so much about this. And that's frustrating for me because so much about this for me is like sharing every single detail, And but if I share too much details with some of these things, I won't get any more of it.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I really, really want to get some more of it. But I mean, I think we're experiencing like this kind of change in perception of blended whiskey. I think people are understanding it better. I think we're talking about blended malts, or we're talking about blended Scotch with grain and these things like that. And there's more information there available to people, and they can make their decisions and learn what it is that they like. But the truth is as well, if I named one of the distilleries in this blend and we bottled it as that, whatever, say it was a single malt, there's absolutely no way we could have afforded to sell it a 20-year-old sherry matured whiskey for sub £50 a bottle. It just wouldn't be the case. So if you enjoy drinking good whiskey, then blended whiskey is a great way of doing that. And we talk about blending, bottling cask of character for single cask whiskies, and that's great. But when you want to talk about depth and flavour and one of the early projects we did was looking at exceptionally low parts per million, just using that blending process to add peat to whiskey without it becoming a peaty whiskey, but to add depth and to use it almost like a seasoning, like you would salt and pepper. And these low ppm blends, if you like, just give that wee bit of extra depth and flavour without overtly screaming peat in your face.
I think we've got to the point where, without kissing too much of the proverbial, where people have sort of one or two guys that I know who are regulars from the shop have said, "What's this mongrel? What's this McMyra?" And I said, "Listen, it's a produce that Andrew's making, so just buy it. I trust him. It'll be good. It'll be good." And I think there's some point of reputation. I think it's well earned. I mean, you know what you're doing. You know what you like. And the produce that you're actually producing is fantastic. So it's easy to say. If somebody says to me, "What is this Swedish whiskey?" I was like, the guy knows what he's doing. Just try it.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
I've got lucky so far, anyway.
You make it. Well, listen. I don't know if we said this before, but you make your own luck. And I think
we just can't afford to bottle something bad at the moment. We're too small. We're too new, and one bad cask at this point in our career could damage us for years. So we have to reject casks, and we have to only bottle what we feel comfortable putting our name on. It would be different if we had an outrun of 100 different casks a year. We could smuggle a couple of iffy ones in there or whatever, but we can't hide from what we're doing. So we don't have that option just now.
Your passion,
a few years time, I look forward to just putting any old muck like third refill out there just for everybody. Yeah.
No, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and the passion is obvious. So it's not difficult to see where you're coming from.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, to break down these barriers of blends, you produce something like this. It's hard to ignore. I actually had a conversation with a customer who refused to believe it was a single cask, because blends don't come in single casks because it's different whiskey. It is.
Well, it's tricky to explain, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
We have so many people come into the shop, and it's one. I'm going to do a shameless plug here that we've just launched a blog today of my views on blends. So to check it out on our website or our Facebook page. But most whiskey is a blend of sorts, or a marriage of different casks from one distillery. But as soon as somebody sees blend on a bottle, the amount of customers that we get in and who will say, "Oh, he only drinks or she only drinks single malt," and you just want to say, "But just try something like this, wee mongrel. Try something else. It's absolutely amazing." You're producing this at, somebody's already commented, sub £50 for 20-year-old blend. It, like you say, if you could list the distilleries that have involved in this, it's crazy. It's barriers that we need to break down. I think social media and people's thirst for knowledge is certainly helping that. Yeah. So hopefully,
it's also helped the fact there's a lot of really, really good whiskies out there, and there's North Star immediately comes to mind, the Vega and all these things like that. They're fantastic whiskies, and always been bottled at a good price as well. So
Adelphi is
totally.
The Adelphi stuff's incredible. £23 a bottle, ridiculous.
And I bought one of Mark Watt's 19-year-old blends that he did as well. Stunning stuff, So there's good whiskies out there, and it's just another thing to enjoy. It doesn't always have to be single malt.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting a lot of comments on the fridge. How much is the fridge? Any fridges available? Stop talking nonsense and get to the fridge sale.
Fridges? I've got absolutely. Where's the joke there?
I've no idea. The fridge. Was that not? So listen, if a certain vintage, that was the guy who used to play. Was he defense or was he offense for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah. I'm just looking back. Callum Tate started with how many 70cl bottles does the fridge hold?
Okay.
And also take the fridge if it makes ice cubes. Callum.
It's like a bloody fridge out here now. I tell you, the sun was beaming down. I was like, "That's a great idea."
Andrew, I've got my windows open. I want to shut them. You're outside.
I can see my breath.
I don't know if our banter's been so boring that they've just gone off on a wee tangent and started talking.
Yeah. I mean, that is quite possible. There's cars driving behind me going, "Why is that guy sitting in a field with a laptop?" He's finally lost it.
I'm really lost.
Yeah,
These fridge comments.
we're missing out. We should be selling fridges, maybe.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Guys, I will sell you my fridge. I don't know how many single sale bottles. It doesn't. Well, it does make little cubes of ice. It's only got one wee ice cube tray. But Russell, it's you. Have you got a fridge in the back of your?
No, my fridges are over there. Yeah. That's a unit. That's just got some tonic in it. I've got some lovely daffodils. There's some gorse. I was foraging for gorse today. Gorse is fantastic. There's another gin from up at Caithness at this time of year. It's got a lovely coconut smell. I mean, is that something that you've thought about as a botanical?
Well, we used the gorse in GPS, but we also used gorse. I think I made just a cold steeped homemade gin probably about 2012. It was a gorse gin, and again we did a beech leaf gin that same year as well. But that was just for homemade, stuff. And I've played with gorse a lot in terms of distillation. I've tried it in steeps. I've tried it in botanical baskets. I've tried it in cold steeps, and I've never been able to capture that coconut flavour. Mm. And the flavour that I get from distillation of gorse is more like peach. So okay. I'd love to be able to capture that coconut smell, and I'm going to keep working at it until I find out how I can. But I've never quite managed to get it to survive the alcohol. But if anyone's got any distillers have got any tips for me, give me a shout. I'd love to know.
Yeah, it's a prickly botanical to harvest as well.
Oh yeah, you get nice fingers. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I make Chris do that bit. Go for his door.
I think I've got a name for your next gin, Andrew. Aberdeenshire refrigerated gin.
Oh yeah. It comes in a small one of those mini fridges. It leaks a bit, but I mean, yeah, it'll be fine.
There's a lot of love for the fridges. It was almost a sensible question coming out of it. If you've got gin, do you keep it in the fridge?
Well, you can do what you like, really, can't you? I mean, why not? If you put our gin in the fridge, it will go cloudy. I'll tell you that now. And that's the oils. And it was a nightmare trying to distill this stuff at Christmas time and get it clear. And we had we stole Chris's mum's electric blanket out of our house, and we had that wrapped around the tank with a fan heater blowing underneath it to try and get the temperature up, because it was about 4 degrees in the still house for weeks.
I'm actually going to blow the whole fridge conversation in the water, because the best place to put your gin is actually in the freezer. And especially if you want to make a Gibson Martini, it has to be in there. Otherwise, it will be like rocket fuel. It's got to be ice cold.
It's a public information service that we're providing tonight, isn't it?
I know, exactly. Yeah.
And Gumtree.
Yeah, it would seem.
Yeah, but I noticed it, and even putting in a wee bit of room temperature Walter Gregor tonic in here, it just went so quick. But I love that. It just shows that kind of, it re-emphasises that handcraft kind of small batch, slow distillation and all that you love.
Yeah. We bought some of the Walter Gregor stuff, and it was hard to see that they had 3 words there, location on the box, so that was brilliant.
I think the Walter Gregor actually produced the saline, actually, when I think about it, because I sipped it again neat on its own, and the saline wasn't there. So I think it came from the Walter. I just put a little drop of Walter Gregor. So I think the soft bubble of the soft. Gosh, what I'm looking for. Yes, the word of the Walter Gregor actually produced the saline. So I don't think it was the gin. I think it was the tonic. Yeah.
There we go.
I love it. I do really enjoy that.
No, we really appreciate you guys are really good at getting the message across to your customers about what we're trying to do, and there's so many gins available to people, and there's going to be one for everybody, isn't there? But it's very easy for somebody's gin to get lost on a shelf full of gins. So we're always grateful for the fact that you guys are really good at getting across, because we feel we're trying to do something differently, and it's not always easy for us to communicate what that is, but we always feel that you guys are giving us a good chance when it's on your shelf. So I appreciate that, and all of the retailers that we work with, we're really, really grateful for the support that we get. Definitely, thank you.
I mean, the important we can only sell so much. You know, we can shout about it, whether it's you guys or your Vesperus, T Smiths, all these kind of avenues. We love local stuff. I think we're very lucky to have great quality on there. But when you back it up with such a good product, that's when the sale comes. You know, a story will only tell. I hate to say it, but a video, as good as your video is, will only sell one bottle if you don't back it up with a great product, which you guys are obviously doing.
We love it when we see folk buying our products, whether that's the whiskey or the gin. We get even more excited when we see folk buying a second bottle.
Yeah,
and that always makes us feel like we're doing something right, you know. And there's a few names that have popped up tonight that have been really good to us and have continued to support us. So thanks to those guys as well. But we hope that folk are enjoying what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Andrew, I think we're going to let you get inside.
Thanks. I mean, you know, for me to be the one to wind up. I mean,
we don't need a fridge. We just need Andrew's breath.
Yeah. I need more clothes, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Any other questions, please ping them through yourselves or to the LBD guys. More, as you've seen tonight, more than happy to discuss anything that you've got to ask. So, thanks very much for coming along to our kind of first.
Thank you, man.
Chat along, Andrew. Been a pleasure as always. And thankfully, we didn't have to eke so much information. You're unusually open.
Too open sometimes.
The challenge for next time is to get Chris on the video. That's the.
I mean, that would be something. Yeah, if some folk don't believe he was real. I think Martin met him for the first time the other week when he came up to pick up stuff for Gin Cooperative, and he's like, "Oh, he's real. He is real." Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get him involved.
He just hates this kind of thing, though. So he's Chris is an absolute hero when it comes to bottling and labelling. Every single one of those 850 wee Mungo bottles, he labelled himself. Wow. So he's a hero. And I say, although he was the one that didn't want to spend the money in the labelling machine, so you know, he said he would do it.
He's going back there. Yeah. So I do apologise for anyone who came along looking for a Little Brown Dog. It wasn't really that kind of conversation.
Well, she's in the house just now, nice and cosy. She's getting a wee bit elderly, so it's not very fair for her to be stuck out here in the cold with me. It's only dafties that sit out in a field talking to folk for an hour and 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. It looks like we've had more interest in the fridge. I really wish I was still in the fridge. I really don't know. Well, is
it? I don't know. Is it a phrase or is it an effing ridge? I don't know. I mean, are people out on the hills and they're like really struggling on a kind of a precipice of some kind, or I don't know what's going on here.
There's your dog for you guys.
There's a wee doggy. Yeah.
So, here's Lila. No.
Camera shy dogs.
Yeah, come on. This is a little one. So if you can see, there she is.
It's the real reason. It's the only reason you actually let us on, because it's just the dog chat, isn't it? Really.
It's more of a Zoom thing, I think. You don't get a Zoom meeting without the dogs being involved.
Yeah. Hi.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Let's call it there. Any questions? Please feel free to send it through, and we'll let Andrew get back into the warmth.
Too late. We'll see you soon, Andrew.
It's good to see you both, and thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Cheers.
Take care.
Good night. Take care.
Yeah. Bye bye.